Bible study for everybody. Met Tuesday evening, the 28th of May, and we actually finished Mark chapter 12. We started with verses 13 to 17 when the Pharisees and Herodians tried to come and trick him by asking him should they pay taxes or not pay taxes, knowing that if he said they should not pay taxes, he was going to be in trouble with the Romans, and if Jesus said they should pay taxes, the people were going to be upset with him. So his response to them was, "Bring me a denarius." And those are what denarius look like. They each had a picture of Caesar on them, and he said, "Whose image is this?" And they said, "Caesar's." And Jesus then responded with the most remarkable saying, which was, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." The next set of verses 18 through 27, a bunch of Sadducees tried to trick him by telling him the story about the woman who married one of 7 brothers, and the brothers kept dying, and the successive brothers married the woman because back then they had an obligation to do so and to raise heirs for the dead husband. And finally they were all dead, and they said, in the resurrection, when they rise, whose wife will she be? For all 7 had her as a wife. And Jesus answered them and said, first of all, you're mistaken. When the dead rise, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. So there's our first clue of what heaven's going to be like. And then he went on to say, concerning the dead, when Moses approached the burning bush, it says, God spoke to him saying, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And that God was talking to him about living beings, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not dead. So that kind of threw them all for a loop. Then a young scribe came to him and said, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus' response was, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. And the second like it is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So we talked about those for a few minutes. Then we went on to the section between chapter 12, verses 35 through 37, where Jesus said to the scribes and the people, how could David say by the Holy Spirit, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool? So they expected the Messiah to come from the line of David. And Jesus' question in verse 37 was, David himself calls him Lord, i.e. this coming Messiah. How is he then to be his son? So how could he be David's son and at the same time have David call him Lord? Well, of course, the answer is that in addition to being from the lineage of David on his human side, Jesus was also the Son of God, and so would be Lord to David. Then the last thing we talked about was the story of Jesus sitting opposite the treasury and watching people put in their money. And a poor widow came and threw in 2 mites. Mites are these little bitty copper coins that they had back then that were extremely plentiful and worth next to nothing. But this widow put in 2 mites. And he called his disciples to him and said, this poor widow has put in more than all those who have given to the treasury. For they all put in out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, put in all that she had, her entire livelihood. And the implication there is that in addition to whatever the value of the gift is that we bring to God, the cost of it to us also has great value. And the ultimate gift was of God giving himself through Jesus on the cross on behalf of all mankind. As a gift, through the grace of God, we are saved. So that concluded our Bible study for last Tuesday. June 4th will be our last session before September. The subject will be Mark 13, which is a very different chapter and begins to deal with end times and prophecies of the destruction of the temple and the destruction of Jerusalem. And we will have a great time with those. See you there.